I had a mentor in Rio, but Rio was away playing, trying to be the best he could be. So, you know, he had to be selfish to be the best. You know, he would help me out from time to time with advice, or when I was playing against a player, I would ring him and he'd tell me about the player and stuff. But in terms of being a constant mentor, you know, and trying to differentiate that brother and a mentor, you know, because he was my brother at the end of the day, you know, and want to keep that brotherly relationship rather than just, oh, every time I speak to him, it's about football. It's about him being a mentor. Like, you know, you don't know how far you want to push that because he's your brother at the end of the day.
Right.
But he wanted to be the best, and he had to be selfish to be the best, and I understood and accepted that.
Sure.
But I didn't have no, and this is why I'm so passionate about doing what I'm doing now in terms of the mentorship to the next generation, and trying to make sure players don't make the same mistakes as I did, because I wish I had that. So I left Sunderland to go back to London and sign for QPR. QPR just come up to the Premier League from the Championship, and they wanted some experienced defenders. So I came. I went to QPR. I was having a fantastic time, and then we were playing a derby, Chelsea versus QPR. It's a massive West London derby. John Terry plays for Chelsea. I play for QPR. You put into context that obviously I knew John Terry for a long time through him playing with Rio for many years, and we was on the pitch, and we was beating them at the time, and something happened, and he allegedly racially abused me. I have to use the word allegedly because he was found not guilty in the court of law, but the video is there for everyone to see. The camera panned in on his face when he was allegedly saying a racist slur that he was later acquitted in the court of law for. I've since then, that was 11 years ago now, and I've since then made a documentary about it because at the time I didn't speak up. I didn't speak up at the time. I didn't speak out for reasons that if you did go and watch the documentary, you can see it. The documentary aired on BBC iPlayer. I think for those in the US, you need to change your location to get it. But I would say it is worth a watch to try and understand and see how big the situation was. I think it's probably the biggest racism incident within soccer worldwide. You know, the only other one that's definitely bigger than it, I would say, is Colin Kaepernick's situation. But other than that, I'd say this is probably the second biggest in terms of sport that's happened. He won everything. He was the best in his position, in our position in football. So having him, and he came up through the ranks at West Ham too as a kid. So having him as my older brother, the pressure was already there. I think, and as you know, Io, he was in the academy with me. He didn't make it as a footballer. He was a very, very good footballer, but never made it as a footballer. I think the difference was, for me, I think it wasn't even a case of I worked harder than him. It wasn't a case that I worked harder than him. I got a bit of luck in terms of like people getting injured around me. He had quite a few injuries which hindered him. But I got that luck where people around me in my position was getting injured and I wasn't. And with the work ethic I had to try and be the best and want to be the best, and the coaches pushing me more than some of the others, I would say, I was able to get that opportunity. But the pressure was always there. It was always there from a young age, from 9 years old when I signed for West Ham. The pressure was there because of my older brother. But the pressure to actually become a footballer and the pressure from the actual football club, it came to me about 17 when I signed my first professional contract. So when I started to earn like decent money, and I hadn't played in the first team yet, then the pressure really started to kick in. We're paying you this money, you've not played yet. it's time to start knuckling down and trying to get into the first team. And I didn't shy away from the hard work. I faced the hard work up. I faced anything that they threw at me. I faced it up and I dealt with it. And through that and being mentally strong enough, because you have to be mentally strong in this game. Any athlete will tell you, and will put the equivalent to the NFL, to the English Premier League, to soccer and what you guys call football. You're a commodity. You're looked upon as money, and if you're not delivering, then they're cutthroat.
Give me a little bit of a look at how you prepare, or you just try not to think about it and block it out. What are some things you do?
I mean, you know me better than probably most people in terms of when it comes to football, because you used to ask me a lot of questions about how I prepared for games. I remember you being quite intrigued in how I prepared for games and how I was. I was just super focused, you know. I had done my homework on the players I was playing against. I hated excuses. I never wanted an excuse. If I didn't play well, I didn't play well because I wasn't good enough on the day. I never wanted an excuse to say I didn't play well because I didn't prepare right. I didn't play well because I didn't sleep much last night. I didn't eat the right food. I don't tolerate that type of excuse for myself. So I always made sure that I was prepared right. I'd done my research on the player I was playing against. So nothing was a surprise to me in the game. And I went out there with no fear. I had no fear, Jeff. You know, I had no fear. I was born to do this, and this is what I'm going to do. And there's a team standing in the way of me playing in the best league in the world, and they're not going to be able to stand in the way of me. That's how I went out on the pitch. You know, I went out on the pitch in my head thinking I was the best player that was going to be on that pitch today. And that's just the way that I was mentally. I was mentally driven. I was mentally strong, and my footballing ego was there for everyone to see. I knew I was a good player in my own right, and there was things that I dreamt of, which was to play in the English Premier League, the EPL, and no one was getting in the way of that. And that's how I felt on that day going into it. So I was quite calm. But I played in the FA Cup final, which is probably the oldest cup in world football. I played in that game, and it's a massive game that's viewed worldwide. I played in that game a year later, and I felt more pressure in the playoff game than I did in the FA Cup final game. So that gives you a bit of context as to how important and how big that playoff game is. You know, I'm ambitious. I think outside the box. I like things that don't seem reachable to me, and to try and get them as close to me as possible where I can grab them. You know, that's the way that I am. Being involved in the club in some capacity, you know, especially at board level. I don't want to be just involved in the club and working for a club day to day. I want to be somewhere where I can implement positive change, you know, whether that's being more inclusive from an ethnic minority point of view, helping the strive for more black coaches, and stuff like that, where I can be part of the decision-making table. You know, if I can get into a place of that where I'm part of that decision-making table, where I'm part of the board and I have a say in a football club, then yeah, that's where I want to get to. How long that will take to get there, you know, I don't know, but I'm working hard every day to try and get to that place. You know, I'm learning business. My business acronyms got better. Anton the footballer is finished now. I want to be known as Anton Ferdinand, the person who gives back to the next generation, to the people of his community, and want to be known as an entrepreneur, and that's what I'm working and striving to be. For me and Ferdinand Football Group, it's when I address parents that bring their children to Ferdinand Football Group, I'm like, listen, if football can do what it done for me, you know, in terms of helping my family create the person, that's what football done with me. The size 5 football helped create the person that you see today, you know, and if it can do that, we might not get one successful Premier League player through Ferdinand Football Group. That's a fact. It might not happen. You know, if we do get one or two, then great, but it may never happen. But I can sit here and say that we've created some good human beings. I'm happy with that, you know, and Ferdinand Football Group's more of a passion for me. You know, it is a business, but it is more of a passion for me, you know, where I can try and bridge the gap between the grassroots football, which is the Sunday league football, with the academy football and professional football. I'm trying to help bridge that gap where a lot of people do use football as a way to monetize and make lots of money. And there's a lot of coaches making a lot of money off of families who are trying to get their son or their daughters into the best academies by doing extra training. I want to try and bridge the gap where they don't have to pay for that. You know, and you know, I'm in talks with some organizations, some companies now, which hopefully will come in and finance the academy part of my Ferdinand Football Group, so that the kids and the parents can have that for free, and then everyone's on a level playing field, where there might be some families with low income who can't afford to do that, so their child ain't getting the same opportunities as the families who live a middle class life, you know, and I want to try and bridge that gap, because I believe everyone deserves that opportunity. You know, I was able to get that, and I came from a poor background, you know, and I was able to get that.